intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show. This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show.
YouTube, what is up? I'm your homeboy Josh, back at you with a look at the Maus SubOhm Tank by Cloud Chasers Incorporated. Sent on over from the purposes of this review by thecloudivapor.com. Come on in here, let's take a look at it. Well, YouTube, today we're taking a look at the Maus SubOhm Tank from Cloud Chasers Incorporated. The tank comes in this little Altoids tin looking thing of a box, and I gotta say, it's refreshing to see some new packaging out there. I think it's a nice change of pace from the sort of plastic, paper, cardboard kind of packaging I'm used to seeing on a lot of SubOhm tanks. I also really like how, if you look around the box, there's no like little specifications anywhere or little bits of writing saying things like, I don't know, 1 times tank, 1 times included coil, 1 times replacement coil, 5 times O-rings. There's no specifications written anywhere on the box. It's just very simple. It doesn't even say Maus SubOhm Tank anywhere. Just this, the Cloud Chasers Incorporated logo against this little blue splatter of paint. I kind of like that. I like the simplicity there. Anyway, when you pop it on open, you do get a little bit of a manual, or sort of a manual. It's like the unmanual. And, you know, it's actually worth a read because it's written really well and it's kind of entertaining. It says, "Congratulations on your new Maus SubOhm Tank by Cloud Chasers Incorporated. We are confident you will enjoy it as much as we do. Here at Cloud Chasers Incorporated, we are extremely focused on developing products that will provide you with a quality vaping experience. We are all personally tired of using products that don't work." Simply put, I like that. We're sure you are too. Now, we could spend the next few sentences attempting to convince you how awesome this tank is, but hey, if you're reading this, you probably already own it. It's true. No sense in beating a dead horse, right? Right. Okay, the boss told us that we have to include some features. Don't you hate it when the bosses make you do something you really don't think is necessary? I know I do. Cute. The following are the features that we personally believe are the most important. Super baller top fill system. Actually says that. Super baller top fill system. I like that. I think that's pretty funny. No more spilling e-liquid all over yourself. Number 2, a protruding copper 510 pin. Yes, it's okay to use it on hybrid mods. We recommend using this tank at 60 to 130 watts. Wow, that's really high for a SubOhm tank. You don't really see too many SubOhm tanks that try to take it over that 100 watt range. So I'm excited to see what this one can do. 4 milliliter capacity. Maybe you'll only have to fill it up 3 times a day. I like that. They've got a sense of humor about it. Well, that pretty much wraps up everything we need to say. If you do not love this tank, please send us an email to blah, 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 blah. We strive to give you the best vaping experience possible. If you're not satisfied, we're here to help with any questions you may have. Once again, we hope you enjoy your new tank. Keep it cloudy, my friends. Pretty cool. Simple, to the point, humorous, written by an American for Americans. I like that. There's no Chinglish here. It's not just a long list of specifications and fill instructions. I like that Cloud Chasers Incorporated seems to know their audience. If you're buying this tank, a tank that's made for blowing clouds, a tank that's made to potentially be safe in a hybrid mech mod, they assume you kind of know what you're doing. I like that quite a bit. And when you open up the box, you know what that smells like in there? It smells like a shoe store. It smells like I'm in the Foot Locker. It smells like a brand new pair of shoes. Like when you get a brand new pair of shoes that's never been worn once and you hold it up to your face and you take a big old whiff of that shoe because the sole just smells amazing, that's what it smells like. I don't know how they did that or why they did that, but it's fucking brilliant is what it is. Anyway, not only does it have this simplistic sort of quality, not only does it smell amazing inside this box, but everything is laid out in its own little compartment. Not only is everything in its own little compartment, mind you, but everything is in its own little sealed plastic wrapper. Like, I really love all the care and attention to detail that CCI has put just into the packaging of this tank. It really tells me a lot about what I can expect from the vape experience here. The tank breaks down completely. So you've got your top cap, chuff cap, you've got your chimney section, you've got your tank, glass tank, you've got your coil, and you've got your base section. And you've also got an extra glass tank and an extra coil, and you've also got a standard 510 drip tip adapter to use in place of the chuff cap, top cap. I like that they include all these things. The spare coil is a given, you kind of expect that these days, but not everyone includes an extra tank, not everyone includes a 510 drip tip adapter anymore. So let's take a look at the inner workings. Let's start with the coil. Massive. It's big. The whole circumference of the coil is big, it's stuffed with a heck of a lot of cotton, and the coil is huge. The inner diameter of this coil, I'm telling you, it has to be 5-6 millimeters. I don't have any calipers to find out the exact measurements, but I gotta tell you, it is big. Really, really, really big. And the coil is a spaced Canthal coil. The coil that's pre-installed is a 0.5 ohm coil. It's rated to go anywhere from 30 watts to 80 watts. The spare coil is a 0.2 ohm coil rated to go anywhere from 60 to 120 watts. And I have a good feeling that can be turned up quite a bit more than that just looking at this coil. Not only is the internal diameter of this coil just so damn big, but the airflow is big too. I mean, some SubOhm tanks, what they like to do is make it look really big by having, 3, 4, 2 ginormous holes in there. But the truth is that airflow is still restricted at that coil. Those walls in the coil are going to restrict it a bit. This is wide open. The only thing standing between, the airflow control of the base and the airflow of the coil is this little sliver of metal here. And all that sliver of metal is doing is just enough so that it'll make contact with the positive pin at the base. That's it. Everything else is wide open. And the juice flow holes, they're more like portholes on a cruise ship. I mean, they are like 3.5, 4 millimeters in diameter. Again, I don't have the calipers to test this, but they are big, man. Just looking at this coil head, I can tell you that this thing was made for chucking clouds. Looking at the base section, we're going to look really quick in that 510 pin. And just to note here, I have heard there are some quality control issues here. They do say that, it is safe to put on a hybrid mod. I would advise you to use caution. Look at your tank before you do that. If you notice there is a little bit of squish and a little bit of give to this pin, and that insulator does seem to move a little bit when I'm pressing on this. So, I mean, I'm not a hybrid kind of guy. I'm not a mech mod kind of guy. I like my regulated mods. That's all I use pretty much. So that's all I'm going to use this tank on. But if you're one of those people that want to put this down on a hybrid, just make sure you know what you're doing. I'll leave it at that. Anyway, looking at the airflow on this base, I have to tell you, is perfect. Some SubOhm tanks, they have massive airflow on the base, but you close it down and you don't really feel a difference in the pull at all. It doesn't feel like it's getting any tighter. It doesn't feel like it's getting any looser. Well, that's because the coil head is restricted at the coil. Okay, it's got walls in the coil restricting that. So a lot of times you don't feel a difference at all until you turn the airflow about 3/4 of the way, halfway. So you know, it's not really, what's the point of the adjustable airflow then? Well, I can tell you that with this tank, the moment you start adjusting the airflow on it, you feel a difference. I love that. I like that CCI optimized the airflow of the base to the airflow of the coil. And that's something I don't see in a lot of SubOhm tanks. A lot of SubOhm tanks, it's like I can adjust the airflow and I don't feel any difference, you know? This one you really do. I think that they did a really nice job there, a really nice job. And looking further at the chimney section, the chimney section is wide open too. The fill port is, as advertised, a super baller top fill system. I'm really impressed with the way this thing fills. Love it. I mean, I can just inject juice into this thing. Fill up a dropper, fill up a dropper, fill up a dropper, done. So easy to fill. Those juice flow holes are perfect. Now, what I don't like about the top of it is this is the one place on the tank where the machining just doesn't seem up to par. I can see where, you know, that CNC machine just kind of grated against this thing and carved some funky looking patterns into the top of it that shine really odd in particular light. I'm not a fan of the way this was machined. I think that could have been done a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. But everything else is great. I love the way that it fills. And I love the top cap. And the reason I love the top cap is because you don't have to unscrew it so much as you just sort of push it into the top. There are these two little keys on the top cap that line up with these two little openings, and you just pop it in there and turn it. That's it. And to open it up, you spin it and open it. That's it. And it locks into place and it doesn't go anywhere. And it doesn't feel, you know, unsecure at all. It actually feels nice and tight. It's maybe a 20 degree, 25 degree turn to open and close this thing. I love that. I love it. And it's good that it feels that way because this guy guzzles juice, guzzles it. I mean, from waking up in the morning, using it at work, using it in the evening, going to bed, I can probably go through 4 or 5, maybe even 6 tankfuls with this thing. And it's only a 4 milliliter tank, so they're not kidding in that manual where they say, maybe you'll only have to fill it 3 times a day. They're being sarcastic. I mean, you're gonna have to fill this thing regular. Be prepared to keep a bottle on you at all times when you're using this tank. They should have called it the Cloud Chasers Incorporated Sponge SubOhm Tank. But I gotta tell you, it's kind of worth it because this tank, it vapes really good. Really good. So let's head on up topside. We'll vape on it some. We'll talk about it. Well, YouTube, that was the Maus SubOhm Tank from Cloud Chasers Incorporated. Sent on over free for the purposes of this review by thecloudivapor.com. And gotta tell you, it's a pretty good tank. Pretty good tank, especially for the cloud blowing. Especially for the cloud blowing. Yeah, that's at only 66 watts. Pump this up a bit. Let's pump it up to about 80. Serious clouds on this tank, guys. Serious clouds. And the flavor is okay. I mean, it's not phenomenal. Flavor is not bad at all for a SubOhm tank. I mean, for a SubOhm tank, it's straight. And you can close down the airflow pretty significantly. Like, I've got it closed down. The airflow control is very, very tight. But it's kind of nice that way. It feels like quality, if you ask me. It gets very, very hot around the base. So, adjusting the airflow, it's a little warm on your fingertips when you're doing that. But I've got it closed down to almost nothing right now. Still turned up to about 80 watts. And a lot less clouds when you pull those down like that, but still a pretty decent amount of flavor. It's a pretty good tank, I gotta say, for what it is. And I love the top fill. It's just like a little 25 degree turn like this. And that's it, to open and close this thing. Super easy to fill, which is good because you go through a lot of juice really quick with this tank. The coils are ginormous. It sucks down a lot of juice. and the airflow is really, really big. Loud tank. Very, very loud. I'm curious about the bass. I think it's Delrin, the bass. And I feel like that's supposed to prevent it from getting too hot, maybe? Or maybe it's to prevent the mod from getting too hot? I guess it does do that. The mod's still pretty cool, but the tank is hot. I'm wondering if I can change out this coil without losing all my juice. Sort of not really. Sort of not really. I gotta say, this coil did not last nearly as long as I was hoping that it would. I do see lots of little black gunk in there right now. I bet that it's pretty easy to re-wick, maybe even rebuild this sucker. But, I do notice that there's lots of black, like the cotton's been burnt a bit. Definitely some scalded cotton in there at this point. I have noticed that it tasted a little bit funky. So, it's only had this about 1 to 2 weeks, something like that. I really would prefer that the coil would last a bit longer than this thing has. Vaping at about, no more than 80 watts, really. No more than 80 watts, what the coil's rated for. Vaping it mainly on my Jelly Slice mod. I've been using the tank pretty heavily, so I don't know. But I mean, it's probably was using it 1 to 2 weeks in total. Now it just looks gross in there. It's a big, beefy coil with tons of cotton. I just don't understand why it's that burnt out already, honestly. I'm vaping it only in that 60 to 80 watt range, because this device only goes to 80 watts. This is pretty much all I was using it on. So, I don't know. Just going to make sure the coil's good and saturated. Juice around the juice holes, juice inside the coil a bit. Screw this on down. By the way, the O-rings on this glass are excellent. Excellent O-rings. They're double O-rings on the top and double O-rings on the bottom. Great connection. Great. The tolerances are fantastic. It's like when you put this thing together, even before you screw in the chimney and screw in that into the base, securing the coil, it's already kept good and tight just with the O-rings. Excellent tolerances for the glass. These lids, these top caps, are buttery. Buttery and easy to open and close. I love them. Love them. Love that you can use your own drip tips on this tank. Love that. A lot of times these days, a lot of tanks, they just come with proprietary drip tips sometimes. I can't stand that. This coil, this 0.2 ohm coil, is rated anywhere from 60 to 120 watts, it says. Let's see here. We're going to start out at a nice brisk pace. We'll start out at 75 watts and see what you can do. It's a brand new coil. And that temperature, that wattage, I would probably close it down a little bit. It's a little weak. Nice. Coil is pretty accurate. Ohms at about 0.22 ohms. Let's bump this up to about 90. 95. Open up that airflow a bit for this. Yeah, that base gets really hot really fast. Like the airflow control, it's hot to the touch. I got it turned up to 110 watts. Doesn't feel burnt. Doesn't have a dry hit in there. I mean, it's pretty damn good, I gotta say. I'm gonna open it up all the way. And we're gonna take it up all the way to 130. That's where they say the cap should be, 130. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love the airflow control on this tank. It's so rare that a company puts out a tank with an AFC, and the AFC is actually good for something. A lot of times, I have to close the AFC down to about halfway before I feel a difference in the airflow on a tank. This one, the moment I close it just a little bit, feel a difference. You can hear the difference. Here it is wide open. Here it is just a smidge closed, maybe about 2 millimeters closed. I feel that difference. Close it off a little bit more. You can hear that difference between those. Feel it too. Really feel it about halfway. I mean, this is really nice. There's no walls in the coil. There's not like 4 separate holes with a bunch of walls in there cutting off the airflow. It's just 2 ginormous airflow holes. A lot of clouds. I gotta say, the flavor's not that great. I mean, it's okay. Okay for flavor. Doesn't compare to a dripper by any means. But it's a tank. It's a SubOhm tank. And it's a SubOhm tank geared for clouds is what it is. And I think it can actually handle more than 130. I'm bringing it up to 150, and I've got it wide open. $170. Fuck it, bring it up to 200 watts. 200 watts. Yeah. Chain vape at 200 watts. It can handle it. All that wicking, the size of that coil, yeah. And you know what? It's a cooler vape than the coil tank is. Cooler vape than the coil tank at 200 watts, which makes me think that you could probably even go higher. That's hot. It's very hot. Very hot. My pin seems to protrude quite... It's hot up here right now. Ow. It's kind of burning. This pin protrudes quite a bit on mine. Okay? Know your mod. Know your safety. That's all I got to say about it. I mean, if it were me, I'd probably say it was fine. I love that. Love how easy that pops off. And it feels so easy. Take your fucking dropper and just plunge juice. That's it. That's all there is to filling this thing. It's probably the best top fill I've ever seen in a tank. I've been enjoying it. I enjoy using it. It's a lot of clouds. Yeah, I feel like the flavor was a little bit better with that 0.5 ohm coil. But overall, it's a fun tank. I like it. I wish that it didn't get too hot. It does. It gets very, very hot. I wish that the coil lasted a bit longer. Other than that, I like it. Anyway, till next time, I'm your homeboy Josh. Vape on, vapors.